What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Insurrection Inc. podcast. We want to thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Hey guys, Stratty here. Before we start the episode, I want to thank Mwesige, Joram, and Wundaz, Gilbert for joining us on the show and letting us interview them. But we really want to help these guys out, so please everyone check the description on this episode. It will include links to some of the projects that these guys have been working on, as well as info on how you can donate to them. So please check that out. It not only means a lot to us, but it means a lot to them. Thank y'all. Enjoy the episode.
All right, and today on Insurrection Inc. podcast, we have Jay, we have Tim, Porter, myself, Stratty, but most of all, I'm very excited to announce this guest. We have the youngest libertarian in Uganda. We have Wundaz Gilbert. Gilbert, introduce yourself. How are you?
Thank you, Porter. Like you said, my name is Wundaz Gilbert, one of the youngest libertarians. And I'm so proud to be hosted on your show. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We're very glad to have you. Yeah. So we were talking in the pre-show, and we were talking about the coronavirus and how the lockdowns have been affecting us. But what interested me the most was you talked about there's only 56 cases, correct? And yet they've shut y'all down completely, right?
Yeah. As I would say, we had the lockdown before even we recorded the case. So my country was like, no, we need to do the precautions before the country can be attacked. And then after 2-3 days of the lockdown, that's when we had now the case. The Ministry of Health, I would say, in my country, it has done or it does a lot in as far as fighting such health the outbreaks. So I did not know why the country went on a hurry to put us under lockdown. But maybe there are other hidden agendas of the government. I would not know. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't agree with the lockdown, because the lockdown is not just to limit us from being or contacting the virus, but it is limiting man, or it is limiting life. We have had a lot of cases of women dying in their houses, trying to walk from home to the hospitals, because in the lockdown we don't have means of transport. You cannot access your private vehicle, no public means of transport, no nothing. So we have a lot of cases. That's as far as health is concerned. But also, if I may try to bring it back to the affairs of life, where people have to access food, it is now the worst, because we have now the biggest challenges of the COVID. We have a lot of people crying out loud to have at least a food or one meal in a day, but they can still not afford a meal in a day. And previously, we had government coming up with a project of giving relief food, but also it is just being done in the city centers or in the city suburbs. So there are a lot of Ugandans who are suffering starvation than they would be suffering the COVID.
And you said that with one of your groups, you've been delivering food to a few people. What exactly have you been doing? Like, describe that, and what group was it with?
What we do is government, when we try to say we can, as individuals, can come up and then start giving food to their friends, government came up through the president, and the president gave directives that whoever tries to give relief as food is actually going to be questioned or sentenced to the courts of law or to prison, because he is attempting to kill people. Because he says when you go and get food and then you want to distribute, there will be a lot of gatherings. And in the sense of social distancing, he came in and then he said no more individual giving out of food. So in me and my other colleagues who are trying to give the food stuff to the neighbors, we do it illegally. When you are caught, you will be sentenced. And as I speak, if I was caught when I was giving food, by now I would be in bars, I would be behind cells. So I did it legally, and I did it the way any other wise person can do to see that his community survives.
That's really cool. That's pretty heroic.
Very cool.
So was that just you acting like with some of your friends, or was that with one of your groups?
It was, of course, me. In Uganda, we have already. I talked about Joram is an administrator of our Liberty Library. That Liberty Library is headed by Mugabi John Socrates. That is the guy who also introduced me to the Liberty movement. So he's a known guy in the country. He has traveled to America, has traveled all over the world, trying to attend the Liberty causes. So as I speak, we have a Liberty project, and I thought maybe some of you even contributed some few through Daniel Berman. We have a Liberty farm where we uprooted sweet potatoes and we tried to distribute them. But when we started distributing this, we were approached by the authorities and they told us to stop immediately. But of course, we would not, because when my colleagues pass around my area and then they have to come there and they're like, Wundaz, man, we need something. If you at least have something, please do it, because I cannot sit and watch out my neighbors dying because of the directive government. So we just do this legally, and we do it in groups where I say I do serve that community. I don't say that I have served the community to the fullest, but I give the little I have. I give the little that I can afford. The other day, Daniel Berman sent me $100, and I bought some few things as sugar and some rice, and I tried to distribute them to my colleagues and my neighborhood. But then the other colleagues of mine, Joram and the friend John Mugabi, the one I talked about, he also was carrying on that project, but it was stopped. But we didn't stop, actually. We continued, and we do this illegally. We would not maybe gather communities, not gather people to come and then receive, but we would actually, Personally, I carried stuff on my motorcycle and started going home by homestead, giving out the little food I had. That is how we conducted the system. But as I'm concerned, if I would have more than I have, I would still go ahead and give out to my community, because I don't want to watch my communities die because of the lockdown.
I think that's that's something that's really like important, that people should like. Over here, people don't really understand the importance of community, even in the libertarian movement, where it'll happen after a natural disaster. There were people that mobilized very quickly after the hurricanes, but you don't see a lot of it day to day, and I think that's something really important that you're doing right now.
Yeah, and at the end of the show, I want to ask you if there's a way people can donate to you. If you can focus up with that, we can put a link out so that people who are interested can donate to you and help you do that, because there are people in the U.S. who could definitely afford to help you out.
Oh, that would be pretty. Thank you so much. That would be the best idea, actually, to come up with this, because guys, I know we have the foods in the markets, but we don't have the money. My people don't have money to access the markets. One, we actually, my country is 45 million people. But out of the 45 million people, 75% of the population feeds from hand to mouth. These are people that earn today and then spend what they have earned. So when you put a lockdown that is extended past the month, you're just causing starvation. These are people that have not had the savings before. I personally, I would not say that I have a saving, because I have just graduated. I graduated last year. But the little that I have, the little donations that I receive from my friends, I can't sit with it and wait to see my friends, my neighbors die of the starvation. So if we can create that link, you guys, I commend your work, and I would say you will be doing something great to my country people.
Yeah, of course. And I think you hit on something very interesting there, where it's very much the same thing here, where people do live, hand to mouth, paycheck to paycheck. We have the luxury, the good fortune here that we have a lot more available food, but at the same time, people can't afford to really miss a single paycheck, or they fall behind on everything. So this lockdown here has also been very devastating in that regard, where people suddenly went and spent all of their last money on food, and now they don't have it for much else, and they're suffering. Not as badly as they would in Uganda, of course, but it's interesting to see how this is the same problem the world over, no matter how wealthy a country is.
I think that is the way we're now suffering. But I would say to the extent of the Ugandan suffering, or maybe the African suffering, would not be the same extent to the US or to the developed countries. Because last time I was seeing on news and I saw that the USA has allocated some fund and it was willing to distribute to the citizens. Of course, as a capitalist or as a libertarian, I don't agree with that. But in this time of the crisis where people have to live, where people have to survive, that is legitimate. It has to be done by government to see that its people live.
Yeah. No, it's just a bad situation. It hurts to see how they're doing that, in places where people really can't afford to be locked down for a month or two, where it's life or death for people like that. It really is a shame to see that.
And I mean, it's definitely putting it in perspective for me to hear about this story from Uganda, where you said 75% of people are basically living paycheck to paycheck, basically living below the poverty level. Because in the U.S., the lockdown's definitely having a lot of negative effects, but it's not quite as life or death as it is for y'all in Uganda. I mean, you're literally having to break the law just to keep your neighbors from starving. So that's kind of crazy to me. That's I mean, what you're doing is really good work.
Yeah, of course, I have not done it as in me Wundaz, but I've done it together with my colleagues. I told you before that Daniel Berman is the guy that is behind us. And then there is also another colleague of mine. I don't know if you guys know him. He's Dr. Kyle. He has also donated some small to us. And the other libertarians that also are contributing maybe to my colleagues that I have not come to know, but I say that you guys are doing some pretty cool job to see that the other people that are suffering can also have relief and can also live. So that is something that I cannot take for granted. I really thank you so much, guys.
No problem at all.
Yeah, of course.
So I wanted to ask a question because history has always been one of my favorite subjects, and really the only time you hear about history and when it comes to Uganda is because of Idi Amin. So I wanted to ask, what has the history really been like in Uganda, as someone who's lived there, as someone who's seen it, as someone who's learned it firsthand from other people from Uganda? And I wanted to ask, how has that affected you and made you a libertarian?
That's a pretty cool question from me, and I would say that that's something good that I also was waiting to hear from you guys. I am a student of history. Right away from my high school, I did history, and I love history so much because I believe it is history that people have to know the past, and then they can reflect on what is happening tomorrow. One, the idea of the coup d'etats or the coups was actually culminated or started during the time of Idi Amin, and that was from 1971 to 1978. And I know you guys that have given your time to see that you can even go an extra mile and then get to know or learn about Idi Amin. Idi Amin was a true or an example of a dictator that caused a lot of pain. Even up to now, the country still pays the effects of Amin. One, the current president we have is one person that served under the government of Idi Amin. Having served under that government, this is someone who I believe the ideas that his former boss Idi Amin had, he has still brought them into the today life, because this is a guy who came into power through a coup d'etat, and that was way back from 1986 up to now. So you can see we are now past 34 years under one regime. We seem to say, because I know there has been a lot of documentations that has been written on Uganda in far as democracy is prevailing in the country. The other time in 2017, there was a doctor from, the doctor was called, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name. I know he was called Petrotus, Dr. Petrotus. I think he was coming from Harvard. And I met him personally, and we had a simple interaction. He told me what we see in documentation is that Uganda is purely a democratic state. And I challenged him and told him that what you guys really see that is being documented is not what we see, because the simple being portrayed a little democracy of a simple majority in parliament does not take the fact that Ugandans are not being led by the dictator. So that idea that you guys go an extra mile and read about Uganda, maybe you come across researchers who are sometimes biased and speak good about the country, because I do believe when you're a scholar and you come into Uganda, first of all, when you are being signed a visa, you will have to fill in what you're coming to do. So before you even get out of the country with the materials that you've got, they will put sanctions on it. If you're coming to do anything like research, don't try to portray the bad image of the country. And that's what I believe is actually being portrayed as Uganda being a democratic country. But as I am concerned, and as the movement that the libertary principles that I have enriched myself with, I do disagree with someone who says Uganda is a democracy. I do know that Uganda is a tyrant state. We have to do a lot to see that we liberate our country. And I'm not saying that I am being too what should I say? What good term can I use? I'm not saying that I will handle this alone. As I said earlier on at the start of the show, is that we have got a very big following from the universities, from the high schools, from the institutions we have in the country. And we do believe that in 5-10 years coming, after we shall have registered our political organization, we shall have a change, because we are willing to take whatever it needs to be applied on ground to see that Uganda is liberated. So back to the question of the effects of Idi Amin's regime to the current situation, I would say that as I said earlier, the president we have right now is someone who served under the other regime. So having been maybe under a dictator, it also gives him the same audacity and same characteristics of the dictator Amin. About you, Potter.
So kind of in that same vein, obviously business is not as normal right now because of the COVID epidemic. But even normally, like under normal conditions, what's the economy like in Uganda? How much government control is there on it?
One, that's a pretty question you asked. The country, okay, like I said, still, I also want to touch this to the other question, to the other point I made, that in the country, we seem to see that Uganda is a democrat, or Uganda has free markets, but in actual sense, we don't have the free markets. I want to ask how you term this situation. One, if the country or if the government officials dominate the potential businesses, the potential ventures, production, exportation and importation of goods, how do you term that? We have had a situation where the president makes sure that he even stated it in his book. The book is called Mustard Seed. We mentioned it that politics or governance in Uganda is the act of managing the society. And we do refresh that phrase that he is doing what he stated in his book, because this is a guy who has made the citizens poor to make sure that they submit to his regulations, to his leadership, to his everything. Because as we speak, and I told you that 75% of the population lives on a free month. So when the president comes out, like in this situation we are in, and he's like, I'm giving out food, I'm giving out whatever, there will definitely be a very good way for him to again come back through the elections and wins the election. Because someone who has dominated the market, if you are starting up, actually, I didn't say this, and I have always discussed with some libertarians abroad, and I thought maybe I have always said it. I am a tour operator. And in some case, I have a business that I am running. I'm in production. I do some pineapple wines. But your business will not grow, or your business will not survive, because the government will make sure that they impose taxes, they impose everything. If you want to import a machine you're coming to use in your production, you will pay a lot of taxes, and you cannot. When these things are being done on a businessman or an entrepreneur, the ground has not been leveled, where we have the government officials controlling all the big potential ventures or businesses in the country. So the local investors, like some of us, cannot thrive, cannot survive. This is why we say that the market in Uganda is not a free market economy, but it's a command economy, because most of the businesses are being owned by the government officials, exactly just like that.
So I have a question regarding that, because I checked out the political parties of Uganda, and you have pretty much like this one dominating party, and they're at least claiming that they are supporting economic liberalism. So is that not true at all, or is that just, I don't know, is it basically not true, or are they just lying to the population?
It's just an allegation. One, when you guys, like you coming from America, from China, the foreign investors come in the country, they will enjoy what we call tax holidays. So this is what government is doing. When government gives tax holidays to foreign investors, and on the expense of the local investors, you see, where if you're coming, just like I said, foreign investors come and they're given tax holidays, of course they will survive and they will expand and progressively work on. But with the local investors, when we want to come up starting ventures, we are not given a free, or we are competing with the big multinational companies that are enjoying tax holidays. Sometimes these guys, when they come, the foreign investors are given free land. So what you are seeing is not false, but it is being manifested in that way, that they are enjoying on behalf of the local investors. They are being exempted from the taxes they are being exempted on tax on behalf of the local investors. So that's what you're seeing. That is what is being portrayed maybe on the Ugandan investment, whatever. But the truth of the matter is that there is no local development of entrepreneurs, of investors.
So it basically favors foreign investment. Oh, hi, Mwesige, are you here?
I'm back now. I tried to shift for another internet provider, and I think I can pretty clear hear you well now.
Yeah.
Let me chip in about the liberal ideas. My colleague Gilbert was talking about liberal idea in our country. He clearly talked about the government giving whole tax holiday, getting an enabling environment for foreigners, like giving land, tax holiday, and all that. And actually, the government is using its people. Actually, they run what we call crony capitalism. They run business. Those actually the government officials run business on their behalf, using foreign companies, and also giving those companies taxes. They do not allow actually proper liberal ideas to thrive. You know, liberal ideas are all about whatever the market environment, which market environment is interfered by taxes, and actually which are very high, which are very exorbitant, especially to the local entrepreneurs. As the government promotes, of course, foreign investors, that creates an enabling environment, the local whatever, the local investors. So we need to look at a ground actually that is so neutral, whereby the market forces can play its role. Currently, if you look at the laws, all investment laws, tax laws, well, actually, they're not the best to actually influence the market opportunity.
And it sounds like the laws favor foreign investment and suppress domestic investment. So that gives artificial power to foreign corporations and stuff like that. And that's not a free market at all, right?
Yes, yes.
And for those listening, this is Mwesige talking. He had some internet problems earlier. He's a colleague of Wundaz, and we got him in finally. So good to have you here, Mwesige.
And hey, Mwesige, how about you tell everyone about yourself real quick? We let Gilbert introduce himself and say a bit.
Actually, yes, I take this opportunity to introduce myself. I'm so happy for Davis and the colleague Potter for hosting us. I'm Mwesige Joram. Of course, I'm from Uganda, like Gilbert. I'm administrator of a libertarian think tank, which we started in 2017. It is called Action for Liberty and Economic Development. Our mission is to promote a free and prosperous society with aspects of entrepreneurship and individual liberty. And the idea we promote is limited government, property right, free market, and rule of law. And basically, we do these ones in schools, in community hall meetings, social media, and media houses like television and radios. And we try to do this one. Our audience actually is a young population, the youth and the students. We do this through conferences, camps, and of course seminars and workshops. So that's basically what we do. We run a public library with libertarian literature. We established a library in 2017, actually, when we were commencing, when we were establishing this think tank. We also run a libertarian farm. It is called Liberty Farm, which is on 4 acres.
How many acres?
Pardon?
How many acres?
4 acres.
4 acres.
This one, of course, we have a Liberty think tank has a leader, a team of leaders, executive. Part of that land is of course, was offered to us by one of the executive members. So that's basically what we do. It's all we promote liberty. And we feel we should live a society where individuals live at their own terms.
Yeah.
Live based on what they offer to the society. We believe we do not have to let those in power, the government, live at the expense of the community. Of course, when that one happens, it means those in government are making the citizens slaves. So that's basically what we look at. And actually, we have managed all these through mobilization, fundraising, and also attending international conferences with different organizations which believe in libertarianism, such as Atlas Network. And also, we have interacted with different individuals, such as Daniel Berman, who has actually one time been in Uganda, who have tried to mobilize and create a libertarian society in Uganda. And one of the outstanding achievement we have had, we have tried to create a libertarian society by recruiting younger students and younger leaders. And actually, we have tried to establish students for liberty chapters across the country. And one of the former leader of the students for liberty, of course, is Gilbert. Is one of them who started a libertarian scene, actually SFL in Nkumba University. That's what I can talk, and I believe with time we shall create a serious society of civic engagement.
That's really cool. And you said that your audience is a lot of younger people. Do you have hope for the future of libertarianism in Uganda, since you have been attracting a lot of young people?
Yes. We are trying to create a community of libertarianism. Actually, we have engagement. We have, as I told you, we are a think tank. For us, we are part of the chapters of SFL chapters. When we left the university in 2017, 2016, we went into the community. We started a think tank, which think tank has gone back to groom younger students who occupy various sectors, and actually we go in the community and teaching them, then we do chapters and then do our ideas.
Pretty cool.
And I was off the air. I don't know if Gilbert told you about the initiative of the libertarian movement they are starting.
Yeah, Joram, thank you. I already talked about the Libertarian Party that we started, but also, Joram, you could also go ahead and talk about the organization that we started, the African Libertarian Union. You can also explode on that for the listener.
Hopefully, Gilbert, you talked about it. But I think you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Yes. Gilbert has expounded, has talked about the African Libertarian movement. I mean party. We are trying because we have, as I told you, we have created a group of youth who are associated with libertarian movement, and some of those youth they feel they can politically impact on the society by joining politics. So because of that, we came with an idea of forming a platform that we can help, that we can use to extend this idea more to the public. Because one of the platforms which you can use is, of course, politics. So those who are interested in politics felt that let them start a platform and in a political party so that they can extend further this idea to the community. And we are in the process of registering that political party, I believe. I mean.
So it's a big libertarian union in Africa, right? And with that in mind, how do you think libertarianism could help just Africa in general, like outside of just Uganda? How do you think a libertarian union like that could improve African life?
No, for us, we are young people. We just began this. I mean, it was actually this idea where the first time to hear about this idea was 2014 with one of the leaders in the University of Mugabi John. When we started, actually, we hosted the first libertarian conference in Uganda. Was 2014, and that is there when the students for liberty began. Pardon?
Yeah, Joram. Yeah, it is 2016.
Yes, I'm building on my point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it's fine. But the first time, I mean, when we held the first conference, that was 2014 in Jambo. So I was trying to build my point that we are still a young movement. We need information. We need mentorship. Of course, we need idea. That's why we started the libertarian library. So we need more books. Because we are running very many conferences, make people get this information. So sometimes we shall be reaching out to help us in actually putting in place these conferences. But of course, we are running this. We are running an office. We are building an office. So we need sometimes we shall need help, like some computers. We are running like as Gilbert has told you, a party. That party will need help. We need in terms of information, in terms of operation, in terms of capacity building, all that will be needed. So, in case if there is an opportunity of help, we shall be privileged and we shall be very, very humbled for such a help. I think.
Yeah. What books do you have right now in the libertarian library?
Something like that, I think. Maybe Gilbert has some addition on that.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I was going to ask though, what books do you have in the libertarian library that you mentioned? What all do you have so far?
I was curious about that as well.
Pardon?
Which books do you have in the libertarian library?
Yes, we have books. We have received some donation of books. Yes, particularly the books. That is, of course, the books. And of course, as an office, we shall need some. We shall have whatever we need. Secure some more. We need some laptops. Some of our friends had promised us laptops, but we have not yet achieved that. We are still struggling to achieve a very, very serious big library. And, you know, as a young movement, we started with what we had at the time, and people have tried to donate us. Of course, the Institute of Economic Affairs from UK donated to us. Atlas Network, of course, has tried to do that, and Daniel Berman, of course, donated to me some books, and of course, we shall need more books in the library. And I'm running a social media, a Facebook page called National Liberty Library Uganda. If you can go on that and see what they actually say on it.
Okay, we'll be sure to check that out.
Yeah. And I was gonna ask, is there a way, say, like, if we wanted to send y'all, or if any libertarians here in America wanted to send y'all books, is there a certain like link or way we can do that?
Yes, I can give you the. We can provide you with the office box where you can send the books, because we have received some books with us. I mean, we received books, of course. We can give you a post office box where you can send, and the contact person where you can send those books and all the material.
Okay, cool.
Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about? Wundaz, I remember you mentioned a few topics.
What?
Is there anything y'all else wanted to talk about?
Yeah. Thank you, Paul, and the rest, guys. And I also would love to applaud Joram. And I would say, Joram, you're doing a lot of work there for us. You know, Joram is is the administrator of the National Liberty Library in Uganda. And I know he still has a lot to say in far as Joram, the outreach project that we've been on, because last time I saw John posted the work that you guys were giving out, also some foodstuffs from the Liberty Farm. You can also speak more about that, because I already read about what yeah, that's something that you cannot leave behind.
Yeah. I have a question for you guys. I have a question for you guys. So, here in America, a big thing for libertarianism that a lot of libertarians get into is through guns. So I'm wondering, what is the situation of gun control in Uganda? Like, how strict is it? Is it easy to get one on the black market versus the legal market? Well, what's it like down there? Let's focus on the legal market. The
other time I saw some people demonstrating in USA with guns outside the certain building. In Uganda, the history of guns. Some of the group in Uganda had guns some 7 years back or 10 years back. They owned guns. It was the government, of course, saw them as a threat. That is the Karamojongo group. The government saw them as a threat, and they had to go and of course force those people to give out those guns to government. So here, the question of guns is limited, is restricted by the guns are owned by the government, and the few people who own guns, they must own after registration, and they must be licensed. For anybody who owns a gun must be licensed and registered with the government. And of course, the number of those who own guns in the public is restricted. That's what I can say about guns. And the people who own guns, it is prison. It is a prison, and you're punished by a capital offense. It's a capital offense.
That's what I figured. which is a shame. I mean,
but you can add on that.
No, I don't have I don't have much to say about that. But as Joram mentioned out, that in Uganda to own a gun, it is illegal.
I do not tell you about the political. Yes, Gilbert. I mean, Kota and the colleague. I did not tell you about the political environment we are going through. I do not talk about it, so I wanted much to expound on it. I don't know if you can give me a think ahead and go and expound here the political environment you are going through and the challenge you are facing as libertarians, building climate that everyone feels belongs to a human being. Hello, guys.
Yeah. But no, we can hear you. We can hear
you. Okay, I'm saying Uganda is a country with a constitution.
Okay.
But the constitution is kind of constitution that promotes dictatorship.
Mwesige, you're kind of. Yeah, you're good now. You're good. You're just going quiet there a little.
I go on?
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
I'm saying Uganda is a country ruled by constitutional dictators. The law has been used.
Yeah, that's
dictators. Uganda has gotten one of the constitution. I don't know how many times American constitution been amended, but Uganda has. In my lifetime, I have 29 years. But in my lifetime, Uganda constitution has been amended a series of times, like more than 100 times. If I'm not, because they can bring land bill, they bring.
That's not too bad.
I don't know how many times the American whatever has been amended.
25 in 200 years.
Wow.
25. But Uganda, actually, I have 29 years, and I don't know how many times the constitution has been amended because every day they present bills to parliament.
That is crazy.
And those laws, which and all the bills they present to parliament, they don't amend for the benefit of the society. They do it for the benefit of those people in power. That is the different thing. I mean, the challenging situation we are facing.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm saying because of that, the constitution that is amended because of the benefit of the people in power, we can see oppression. People in opposition do not have job. They don't have an opportunity. They don't have freedom to speak and the freedom actual after speech. You may speak, but you don't have freedom after speech. That is the challenge we have. We have oppression. As I told you, the taxes are exorbitant. And if you are in opposition, of course, you do not have a platform. You do not have an employment in government.
Yeah.
And of course, when you talk about libertarianism and dictatorship, those ideas are the very ideas that challenge dictatorship, and actually they are threat to dictatorship. Because libertarian idea is about, of course, they are about civil disobedience. It's about civil disobedience. Because when you teach someone their liberty, it means someone, of course, will defy the law orders. When you teach someone liberty, that is empowering him. So the government will look at you as an enemy to the status quo. So that is the kind of challenge we have. Sometimes the liberty idea must be restricted to a certain extent.
Yeah,
that's why we have basically gone to education. We have started more of education conferences. We cannot go in the streets, of course, to confront the power. So we try to engage our idea at a very small platform where we feel the government is threatened. And of recent, the court has unified a law which was allowing an individual to hold a meeting after asking permission from the police.
That's crazy.
The court has unified. It has been running since 2013, but the court has recently unified it. Of course, whenever you could go to police, ask for permission, they look at the interest. Are your interest political or social? When you have political interest, of course, they will not allow you. So we have been facing a lot of that challenge. It's not allowed to talk, you are not allowed public to associate. And when you associate by force, of course, you face direct.
Yes, Joram. Joram.
Yes,
Yeah, thank you. Actually, if I may interject in and speak a little bit more about the constitution. Guys, the listeners, the listeners over there, what Joram is talking about in Uganda about our constitutionalism is really a mockery, because since the constitution we have right now is a constitution that came in power from 1995. That was after the government we have in had just come, and then it started the Constitutional Assembly. And then ever since that time, we have had more than 100 times amending the Constitution. What Joram was talking about, the amendments in the Constitution, of course, we have the proper procedures of constitutional amendments, but these are being done by the government, because the government simply has got the majority in parliament, and the parliament, as a law enacting board, it has taken granted over the constitution, because simply the majority members in parliament just sit down without bearing in mind the interests of the voters, of the citizens, and then selfishly they go on and amend the constitution. In 2017, we had the amendment of the constitution where we had a provision that limits or that prohibits a president not to serve after the age of 75 years. But simply because the parliament or the government had the majority in the parliament, they had to enact and amend the constitution. Then the other thing what Joram was talking about, actually right now in Uganda, if you have a meeting, simply a small meeting of 2-3 people in your home, you were first recalled to first ask for permission from the authorities. But as we speak, we had, of course, the activists and advocates who are trying to fight for human rights in Uganda, and they pushed that motion to the courts of law, and we've just won that case. And the bill was called the Public Management Order Bill. So it was enacted already as a law. But as I speak, court just nullified the amendment. So I can say partly that Ugandans are now starting to get back their constitutional rights. But what Joram has spoken about, or what Joram has discussed as far as constitutionalism in Uganda is concerned, is not a lie. That's what we have in Uganda. Simply, as I said before, that I cannot accept simply the majority mean to be my rights, to be actually stepped on simply because of the majority quorum in parliament, or maybe in work. Democratically, I disagree with that. So maybe the other thing is that, Joram, I wished you would also talk about the events that we are likely to have as ALED and as Liberty Uganda. You can also maybe talk about that, because I guys, I don't want to always take this, because in Uganda we have got we have governance in our liberty activities. So Joram is an administrator of our activities in Uganda. So I would like to give an opportunity to Joram to maybe speak about the forthcoming events that we have, and then if maybe there are members who are listening to us that are willing to maybe sacrifice them to come in Uganda and speak about liberty, we welcome you guys, because we need both technical, we need mentorship, as Joram talked about it. We need, because I do believe that you guys know much about liberty. So we need you guys to partner with you, and then we will come and also speak to our people, because we have got a very huge following in the universities in the country. So that would be a very good thing if you had anyone who was like, no, me, I'm coming to Uganda, I want to speak about this, and would warmly receive you. Thank you.
I got another question for you guys. So
okay.
earlier Porter mentioned, or was it Porter or Stratty mentioned something about donations, right?
I did.
Yes,
I did. So you guys, we're gonna put up something so people can help donate to you guys. Would you guys also accept cryptocurrency? Like, is that something you guys are able to do?
Yes, we do. I do Bitcoin. We do Bitcoin.
Awesome. Well, make sure to tell anybody who also invest in Bitcoin to send some over to you guys.
Sure. Brother,
Joram, the question is there for you.
yes.
Joram, the question is respond.
About
Yes,
what?
maybe
About what?
about investing in cryptocurrency.
I have never taken initiative with that, of course. And particularly as our group, as Aled has never whatever received, actually tried to receive the Bitcoin, again the cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. And what else?
Yep.
For me, I chipped in that I feel a bit cheated because I had not told all my story about liberty in Uganda actually and the world. I felt I missed a lot because I could chip in and hear Gilbert talking about it, about talking something, and because the network was poor not until I changed the network provider. I mean the internet provider. And tried someone else actually, another company. But as of course, I wanted to talk. I wanted to go back and also, of course, Gilbert had chipped in. Had not told all about the situation. Uganda is one of the countries in Africa since independence has never gotten any leader through election. All the leaders who come in power, they come in, they throw themselves in power using guns. And the likely scenario in the next election or in the future, it will be also using maybe guns or using force. Of course, those people who are building now, they are not building for the future of this country, they are building to maintain the power. So that is the situation we are in. That is the scenario we are in such a situation that the people who are in power, they are building for the next election or building to maintain the elections instead of building for this country. So that is the situation we are in, and it is a very, very important environment that the libertarian must change, and the young population must understand that, which is a kind of challenging, because the people who are in power, they have machinery, they have propaganda machine, which a young population like us must encounter. And what surprises me, those who are in opposition, who are trying to change the status quo, they want to change the status quo and create an environment resembling that one of those who are in power. That is what is amazing us. We feel like not joining them because they want to go in power and also promote the same environment they are in. Of course, that is socialism state where people are exploited by those who are in power. So we feel challenged also. That is the big question we are encountering. Gilbert was talking about the events which we have in the future. Of course, every year we have very many events. We have internal events, very small events, monthly discussions. We have actually African conference, Africa Liberty conferences, and we have a mega one. It is called Liberty Conference. That is a year. I mean, that is annual, where we invite external speakers. So, of course, this year we had a very big conference. We were supposed to have a very big conference, but I think it is not going to be there because of coronavirus. So we, of course, next year, if you have the willing speaker next year, we of course around Feb or that late January we shall have the Liberty Camp. So we shall be able to invite, of course, external speakers, and we have been doing that one for almost now 3 years. So for the internal events, we invite speakers from within around lawyers, young students, of course, like Gilbert, who experienced people in the liberty movement, speak around students. And of course, we are trying to recruit more libertarians in the university, as we told you. I think that is it, and we listen. Of course, if you have any question.
That all sounds awesome. Y'all are doing some great work over there. We're running up on an hour now, so I think we're gonna go ahead and come to a close. But first, I want to let y'all give us any links or like names of social media profiles and stuff that people can look up so they can track what you're doing and be more interconnected from the U.S. to Uganda. Y'all want to do that?
Yeah, thank you. I think Joram out then you should be able to mention it out so that the people, our people from the US can follow us. But also, I also encourage or maybe plead with you guys that you can also follow our individual media platforms like mine on Facebook, on Twitter, and then Skype and the rest. But before I maybe could be off, I want to speak about this. One, Joram and my colleagues know me as an entrepreneur. I have done a lot of businesses. Right now, as I speak, I have a business, a production business, where I manufacture wine from pineapples and some gins. And then last time, my colleague, my friend Daniel Barman, was willing to partner with us because he wanted us to allocate him some shares so that he can be a shareholder and then he can donate something or maybe in exchange for the shares. And then also that's a partnership business that I'm running. Then also I have another tour company, a tourist company that I'm running. I also am looking forward to see any other person all over the country, all over the world who can maybe partner with me from the US, from anywhere you would be, because I do believe that for me to be able to get tourists or to get clients, I need to have that huge social media platform or maybe that social coverage that I can be able to get or to enter in the market of tourism. So if there is any member or any colleague from you guys or maybe any listener who will be listening to me right now, I have my small company. I was initially working under another company which is called Renzori Safaris, but right now I have started up mine. I want to be individual because I don't believe in being under someone. When you're under someone, you will not be at liberty of doing something that can make up the company grow. So I started my own company, and the company name is Creative Tours and Safaris. I'm on Facebook and on WhatsApp. So please, guys, the other thing I would not end before thanking you, and James Davis, that you guys are so good, because this has been a golden opportunity to some of us like me and Joram are speaking to you guys, and also paying your attention or giving us your time to listen to what we can speak. It is not something that I can take for granted, but I must say that, guys, thank you and very many thanks to you and the listeners. I remain Wundaz Gilbert. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on. It's been great hearing from you guys.
It's been awesome talking to you.
Yeah.
Potter.
Yep.
Hello?
Hey, we can hear
Gilbert
you.
was talking about our contact. We have a Facebook account. It is in the names of Action for Liberty and Economic Development. And also we have an email, aledofficer@gmail.com, and also we have a website which we are launching soon. It is under test right now, and anytime this week or next week we shall launch that website. It is aleduganda.org. So we shall be launching those are platforms. So we shall be, I think, sharing them with you on Facebook, and the other remaining information, of course, you asked for photos, post office where we can receive donation and others. I think we shall be sharing those ones on the messages like on Facebook.
Yeah, of course. We'll get all those links from you in our Facebook messages so that we can share them with everybody when this episode goes out. It's been great talking to y'all. I really enjoyed it, and I think I'm going to let Stratty take it out here.
It was wonderful. We are really, really privileged. Humble and honored.
Hello.
Given us this wonderful, this wonderful.
I think we lost Joram for a while there.
Yeah.
Couldn't quite hear him.
Porter and James Davis, there is something I want you guys to know, and I didn't want to let you go before I say it. It is in my local language. It's called, it's syllables. Transisanyo simply means, or literally means, we are very privileged for having been hosted by you guys. Transisanyo. It is my local language. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. That's awesome.
Sorry, you want to take us out?
Thank you.
Stratty?
Stratty's gone as well.
I think we might have lost Stratty. All right. In that case, thank you for listening to the Insurrection podcast. Excuse the small technical difficulties we had. It's been a great time. Thank you to Wundaz, Gilbert, and Mwesige Joram for talking to us. And we'll put all their links in the show notes, like we said, so you can find them and help out the cause of liberty in Uganda. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.